The only other major audition I've ever done in my life was when I had to audition with him for the role of Robocop. You remember that?
No, I didn't audition for it. I just moved around a room.
You just came in and you had to read with somebody, so it was with me.
No, I moved around Paul Verhoeven's office, but I think your senility is getting to you. Because Verhoeven busted me for 5 meetings to audition for it. And I said, I ain't gonna do it because I'm horrible at it, horrible. And finally I was at his office after having that lunch with John Davison down in La Brea at some Italian joint. And he said, would you say these words? I said, I kinda. And were you in that room then?
Yeah, that was.
Okay, so I said 2 words, and he said, please, then can you just move around the room? Up, and I moved around the room because at that time I was running marathons and stuff. But I refused to ever audition. He wanted to screen test me, audition me, screen test me. I kissed his ass into the movie, is what I did.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said audition because you finally agreed to read, as I recall. You wouldn't go on camera. You wouldn't.
No, I did not read. No, I did not read. I sat there and said, I think I said, thank you for your cooperation or something like that. And I said, I don't do this, man, I can't do it. He said, well, just move then, just move, you know, Verhoeven's thing. I said, just move. He said, okay. So the cool thing about it though is that at the same time, I went home, I went back to the hotel from that, and my agent, bless his heart, he's now Mel Gibson's producer, Rick Messina, and he's been my one and only agent. And he said, listen, you know, we have this meeting with Dino De Laurentiis for the remake of King Kong. Hong Kong, yeah. And after Jessica Lange, and so he says, you gotta meet with Dino. Later on, I would make a movie with Dino and befriend him, but I walked into his office that day, later on, and Dino gets up. Dino was an amazing guy, a total maverick, and the first guy to really sell foreign interest in film. And he goes, I said, this is Peter Weller, Rick Messina. He says, yeah, Peter, you tell me, how much money you want not to do this fucking robot movie? And that was his first words to me, man. And you know, if you're only making a couple of dollars and change a week, and a guy like Dino says, how much money do you want? You stop thinking about art, you start thinking about Ferraris. And then you get Gatsby the offer later on in the day, man, for like a lot less change, but a lot better film.
So had you seen Paul's films, Soldier of War?
I'd seen every one of Paul's films. When I first met Paul in New York, they said, you know, my same guy said, there's this thing about a robot, it's very funny. I think it's very funny, but it's very violent, but you're gonna meet this guy, Paul Verhoeven. I said, I love Paul Verhoeven. I'd seen The Fourth Man, Spectre, Soldier of Orange, Turkish Delight, all of them. And so the first thing out of my mouth was, if you don't mind me saying, I'm a fan of your movies, and what I really like is they tell this small story of dignity with a huge opera backdrop. And he looked at me like, he went like, yes, I do. And then we were off and running, you know, but I was a huge fan of his stuff. It's still a huge fan of his stuff, and I think you've seen him recently. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, but Elle is one of the best movies out there now, you know. It's just, he's a phenomenally simple guy who can dig out the personal end of any story in a way that's electric, that a lot of people miss. And I've said this to Ed, and we know it well, that sound is still not working. Still got a speaker off, man. Yeah. You've got the one speaker working, bro.
One speaker working, bro.
Go ahead, ask something else.
And how did you, so from the script going to Paul, what was the journey of all of that?
Well, you know, I wrote a script. I actually had an idea 5 years before I wrote a script. I met a guy, Mike Miner, who says hello. He's in Santa Barbara tonight. And he and I had sort of worked out this story, and we wrote it. And I knew John Davison through some friends, and he turned out to be the guy to make this. And it was really a commitment, I think, to a certain kind of tone. And we sort of knew what we were doing, and other people didn't, and we didn't really mind that they didn't. And then we went through a bunch of directors, and the movie would not have been the movie it was if we had taken any one of them. He wouldn't be, and we wouldn't be here today. Yeah. And then we met Paul Verhoeven eventually, and he really got it, and he kind of immediately embraced what we wanted to do. In terms of it, he understood it could be amusing, be a satire, and and it was a really difficult movie.
Yeah. And it was a great article that you sent me today, man.
Yeah, there's a pretty good article in Vulture today about it, a little bit. It makes us look good, so we like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how it was. I sort of never let it go. I just kept, most writers fall away, and I just kept somehow staying in the room and annoying people.
Now, does 2017 feel a little Robocop to you?
Listen, you know, the beautiful thing, I don't say because he's in the room, but there's two things that, if I take myself out of the equation, which I did when we did 20th anniversary, and just look at the movie as a movie informative. You know, it is a prescient, mind-blowing satire, social history on what does and doesn't work in the United States. And I think its resilience is because it speaks to that today. And the thing is that when I read it, it was brilliant on the page. But Verhoeven is really the guy that got it. And I just want to denigrate American. I feel a movie coming on. But listen, the movie would not have had Ed Meyer, Michael Miner's genius in it without Paul. Because Paul mined it. And somebody would have made an entertaining flick. And yes, it probably would have been funny. Yes, it would have been violent. But it would not have been as prophetic or moving without Paul. That's true.
Does anyone know how we're doing? I'm going to ask you one thing before we go on, because you were friends with Leonard Nimoy, and after playing Spock for a day, he would sometimes burst down crying after playing Spock because he had to hold in all his emotion. As you were playing Robocop, at the end of the day, you're a pretty lively guy. What was it physical transformation going from Robocop to...
Well, here's the deal. I was running marathons at the time. I was a macrobiotic. The only 5 guys I hung out with were the 5 bad guys, Calvin Young, Jesse, Kurtwood, and Ray Wise, because they're essentially teetotaling, kind of very specific diet guys. They didn't stay out late. One day I'm working in the room with Moni Akin, he'd gone, and I heard some like real great partying going across the way. And I thought, geez, man, I wish I was over there. No, I can't do that. I gotta run 6 miles, I gotta do la 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 la. But then I heard Ed Neumeyer's voice. And then I heard Miguel's voice. And I go, remember this? And I go knock on the door. And they're in there with chicks, babes, 100-year-old scotch, man. Going, hey, how's your day going? I said, yeah, I gotta go out and run 6 fucking miles, man. You guys are like, you got the babes and the 100-year-old scotch in there. So that was the distinction for me, you know. But I would feel depressed on a Saturday. I would sleep late. I would go out dancing, sometimes with Nancy, sometimes with my girlfriend, but I'd go out dancing. And on Sunday, I'd run these long 23-mile runs. But I was depressed. What happened. I'd crash. And when we finished that movie, after we had come back and did a reshoot, when we finished in Pittsburgh, I had a huge down. Because if you had a team around, you're putting that stuff on you, and then you're running 6 or 7 miles a day, and you're macrobiotic, and you're just challenged by, and the vocal thing, and the mind thing, and everything. You're on a like a Formula One skid, and all of a sudden you're not. And somebody says bye, and your movie's over. And by the way, you're gonna go do some other movie in Spain, you know, and you think, it was a huge, huge crash. I don't say I'd cry, but I'd really be if I didn't do that 23-mile run.
He cried. He cried.
I did cry. Okay, I cried.
You know, it's true. It was. I was going to say this to you, Peter, tonight. That I didn't know. I wasn't old enough to know what a big commitment that was you made to that role. So I bet you were. That was probably like hitting ice at the end of that.
It was. It was really like a nice. Yeah. All right. Is it working?
All right, I'm going to go check what's happening here. Thank you, guys. All right, let's see what's going on.